Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in today on a great viewer question, and that is to really look at the impact or effect of relationships with those who have mood disorders. The sort of histrionic behaviors, the sort of mood lability, meaning they're somewhat unstable, unpredictable. Things come out of the woodwork. You can be sitting with them and then all of a sudden you get an explosion. They're storming out of the house. They're yelling at you. They're slamming the doors. You don't hear from them. They are, chronically unstable. Some of the other mood disorders, the hyperanxieties, the real kind of depressive, the adjustment disorders where people are going through periods of time in their life when their emotions are all over the place. They're really kind of out of balance. They're really, not stable. In other words, they are in a tough place emotionally. Things could be unfixed or unstable in their life for a momentary period of time. In other words, they're out of a job. They lost a family member. They lost a best friend. They had, a car accident. They had a health scare. They've had diagnosis. So these are things, the uncertain, but, life stressors that come up that they are really, not adept or equipped at coping with. And so this really throws them for a loop. And then you get this disproportionate emotional reaction to the event or circumstance at hand. So, we see, that is a lot of the anxieties, the depressive, the adjustment disorders, the comorbidity of this going on. And, when people have like major depressive disorder, they have a chemical imbalance, meaning their serotonin is low. Their dopamine is, not right. In other words, their feel-good hormones are kind of down. If you think of it kind of like a pool, or a leaky pool, that, their pool, you can't really dive into it. You can't really, there's not a lot of flow because their moods are, something is askew in the neural, chemistry of what's going on there. And so, their reactions might seem very unpleasant. They might be very harsh, sort of grindy people, not very rigid, very inflexible, giving you these dirty looks. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do what's going on inside in that inner liquidity, in that inner emotional bank, in that inner emotional pool. So it's kind of like, when you're there, you're either in like a little bit of a wading pool, you can only be kind of superficial with them, but you really can't do a lot. If you can't really go into, suddenly you're in the deep end, suddenly you're in the shallow end. You have this experience with a mood disordered person. And these are just sort of analogies that I, Peace and Harmony, use so you can kind of understand. And we're not here to diagnose or treat, but this is to help you to understand perhaps how some of these people might be in your life. So imagine, if you're in a pool that's constantly leaking out, you're eventually going to hit a rock bottom. It's going to be like, well, let's wait till the filter system clears through some of the sludge. You're able to get through this rough patch. Let's wait until, we get your plumbing back going on. This person might need medication. The mood disorders oftentimes do need psychiatric or psychological help. In other words, they might need the antidepressant. They might need the other, SSRIs. They might need some other Valium or those, sort of course of medication. So they might need to go to their general practitioner or their psychologist to get this adjusted. The major depressive disorders, some of the, manic disorders, these need to be corrected, medically. And it's, there should be no shame, I feel, in those people. You cannot fault them or judge them, just as you cannot fault or judge someone for having, any other health issue. Just because you can't see it or understand it doesn't mean it means they're a weak person. It means that there is, it's like, how can you be mad at someone if they have high blood pressure? It could be genetic. I mean, there's other factors that they're doing to help themselves, but help themselves they must. If you have high blood pressure, you stay away from salt. You eat more vegetables. You eat healthy grains. You eat lean meats. You do some exercise. You go on a healthy heart diet. you need to take blood pressure medication. It does not resolve with a salad alone. One walk ain't going to fix the high blood pressure. It needs to be medically altered. So oftentimes people with these mood disorders need to have this chemical adjustment, and there's no shame. Just as you cannot fault someone for having high blood pressure, likewise with these other disorders that need to be treated by these specialists. So if you have felt, though, that you've been kind of like put on the roller coaster, you might need to take a step off of the roller coaster, get back on the plank, get back on solid ground and say, okay, let's give you some time for things to kind of work out, and you can get back on stable ground so we can now enjoy a conversation. We can now enjoy a walk. We can enjoy a lunch, a dinner, a movie where, things aren't always so, there's not so much trepidation, fear, or, things aren't so out of control. And generally, those stages will be moved through once the adjustments get made. The new job is present. They are through the cycles of grief if they have lost, a friend or lost a specific health status. They've time has healed their wounds, or they've sought the appropriate medical attention now, and they're actually medicated in the way that they need to be, and then they're better balanced internally, chemically. So, it is to understand that, you must, if you're in relationships with these people, it's to not take it personally. It's not to react in like energy, because if you do, you're just sort of, mirroring, and you're throwing yourself off. You're throwing yourself to the lions, the wolves, the sharks, and then it's lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, you're wondering, why did you do this? When you need to kind of be able to take a step back and say, okay, I don't need to mimic their outrageous emotions. I don't need to respond to their escalated cries. I don't need to take myself there, even though I have empathy for them. I can respond in stable, specific verbiage. I am here to help you. What do we need to do? I am here to assist you. Let's see what is required. So speaking in very cool, calm, objective terms in 3 to 5 words will help you to see clearly and not be swept away by the torrent of these person's emotions, super down, super up. You want to kind of get back into the happy medium where things are smooth sailing. I mean, things aren't going to be smooth as glass, but at least, you don't need to go through these really severe, profound ups and downs. That is part of balance. So if you have hitherto, kind of ridden that slippery slope down and up again and feeling like it's a lack of balance, well, it's to acknowledge that when highs get too high, it's to calm it down. When lows get too low, it's to calm it down to the up. It's to use, once again, the boundaries and standards that will say, okay, my boundary for up and down is here, and so this is my wiggle room. When it goes way up here, that's too excited. When it's down here, that's too low. So let me temper and let me get control of my energy so it's in the right spot and we can focus. We're not getting distracted by this anger, and I'm not going to just subject myself to this. That's, we need to, speak in a civil manner for us to have this conversation. Is that okay? So, I use that statement because, if not, it's just this person is essentially going to be having a conversation with themselves by themselves. Their torrent of emotion is so agitated, aggravated, and emotionally unstable that they're not going to be receptive to anything constructive, concrete, or positive you have to say. So it'll make you feel defeated if you just pour forth and mimic their emotions. Even if you are a person of empathy, when you engage there, you're basically throwing yourself out of balance. You're throwing yourself out of perspective. You're throwing yourself out of control, and you're entering, it's like diving in to save the drowning. I mean, unless you have reinforcements, backup, the right equipment, and the boat to actually help this drowning person to just dive in and to try to pull is not the proper method to save, to assist. So, It is to acknowledge and validate your limitations. So it's and this is a positive. It's not to say that I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not smart enough. It is to say I am honoring my limitations here. And that's internal self-talk. So it is to acknowledge and validate that you have limitations and standards that you must adhere to and comply to. You must delegate this to yourself. So you must give this, and at first it seems like a chore, realize that you are protecting yourself here. So that is, I hope, the discussion that you were looking for. So thank you so much for your comment. And this is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. And I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.